So people always ask me, how do I train for marathons while managing tennis practices and schoolwork? So today I want to do a full breakdown of things that I focused during my marathon prep. Okay, so the first thing that I focused during my marathon prep is to plan for a day the night before. I've noticed over the past few months that this was the most effective way for me to plan the day the night before. And I've tried many times doing like a full week plan and to have some sort of plan for the full week. But for me, the plans changes all the time, especially with me being on a tennis team. It changes a lot, and I have to kind of adapt to that schedule. So I've noticed it hasn't been really working well for me to have a plan for the whole week. But instead, I would simply have a piece of paper the night before and I would just write down. I wouldn't necessarily like a to-do list, but I would simply write down the things that are on agenda the next day. That has been working the best for me because my schedule, like I said, my schedule changes a lot throughout the week with the schoolwork and the tennis and all that stuff. So I would just simply have a piece of paper, write down the plans and the schedules, what time you're gonna wake up, and just follow that paper. If you say you're gonna wake up at 5:30, 6 a.m., just follow it. 6 a.m., boom, you wake up at 6 a.m. and you go for a run. And be meticulous about your goals and plans and make sure that you are following them so that you don't get lost during the marathon prep. Okay, so the second thing that I focused a lot during my marathon prep is simply eating more and sleeping well. And y'all probably heard this many times from me about nutrition and sleep, and y'all are probably tired of hearing this, but this is something that I really super focused during my marathon prep. I don't mean simply just eating more, but I would say more carbs, especially for me who would play tennis for 3 to 4 hours in a day, and I would also run for about an hour every single day during my marathon prep. So my body simply needed a lot of carbs to convert that to energy so that I could perform at the highest, at my peak level during my active times. So that's something that I super focused during my marathon, and to be honest, I really enjoyed it. I love eating. Yeah, I love eating a lot of food, so it wasn't really a problem for me. I see a lot of other people having an issue with eating more food, but that was never a problem for me. I could eat as much food as I want, and I would still be in the perfect shape and make sure I'm getting all these proteins, carbs, and just simple nutrients that we need. But I would say focus more on getting carbs, bread, rice, pasta, all this stuff. There is so much debate going on nowadays about how bad the carbs are. Those carbs that we ingest are stored as a fat, and we use them when our body needs it. It also depends on your lifestyle, like how you live and how much you move throughout the day. That's gonna fluctuate a little bit of how much carbs you're gonna intake and how much protein you're gonna intake. If you live a life where you burn a lot of calories and you're super active, you should definitely be ingesting a lot of carbs so that you can use those carbs as an energy when you perform. Also, the proteins are needed to fix all the broken muscle tissues that we have in our body. So protein really does play a crucial role in our life, building those muscles and to repair those muscle tissues that we've broken down during our hard workouts and hard runs. And so it is super important to make sure that you're getting enough sleep. I would say 7 to 8 hours, that's more than enough. You would probably be, again, this also depends on your lifestyle, but 7 to 8 hours, that's how I aim to sleep. I would be completely fine with the 7 hours of sleep. I would function properly and I feel good, and just do what feels good for you. And I think that is super important, to make sure to not force yourself to do things just because other people are telling you, just like how I am telling you right now that you should be taking 7-8 hours of sleep. At the end of the day, do whatever works for you and just keep on doing the same thing as long as it's working for you. So that's a second thing that I focused during my marathon prep. Okay, so the third thing that I focused during my marathon prep is saying no to a lot of stuff and sacrificing a fun time. This is something that I had to learn during my marathon prep. I wasn't really good at saying no to a lot of stuff and sacrificing fun time last year, so this is something that I learned, and this is something that I appreciate a lot. Obviously I love socializing with people, social time. We're social creatures, humans are social creatures. So we want to have fun and, we want to be around people, and that's all amazing. But during marathon prep, you just have to know when to say no to certain stuff, because your priority changes throughout the marathon prep, and sometimes you just have to say no to the things that you would say yes most of the times. In my case, I sacrificed a lot of fun time. I wouldn't really go out with my friends to eat, and I spent more time being alone and thinking more about upcoming marathons and stuff, and that really helped me immensely. All that stuff, at the end of the day, I'm also a human being, so I'm not a super robot, so I want to have fun too. But you have to learn to say no to a lot of stuff during marathon prep and be okay with it. I don't want to sound too harsh, but at the end of the day, people have their own life and they have their own way of living. So I would say, focus more on yourself. That has been a really important part of my life. You just gotta sometimes bullet focus on yourself and cutting out all the distractions and just simply focusing on your goals and what is in front of you to achieve what you want to do in life. Everyone has goals and everyone's ambitious nowadays, so you just have to be a little different and just follow your own path. I don't like this phrase, follow your passion, because it overlooks the hard work part, and I would rather say work on your passion and be the best at it. You can't just follow passion and live a dream life. Those people who followed passion, they worked on a passion and they excelled in a passion, and now they're on the top of their field. So that's one thing that separates great from the good. If you like this video, make sure to check out the video right here, where I talk about how to stay tough when things get hard in life. So yeah, with that being said, thank you for sticking around, and I'll see y'all in the future videos. Peace.